Nelun, we've seen headlines about a super El Nino. Can you explain what a super El Nino is, and are we going to have one?
Okay, that's a bit of a tricky question, but I'm going to take a stab at it. I've read about extreme El Ninos, and if you don't mind, can I talk about that instead of a super El Nino?
You make your own headline.
Okay. So, in the past, let's say, 4 decades or so, we've seen 3 El Nino episodes that have been classified as extreme. And these are the events, or let's call those warm events that I talked about before. Those are episodes that, where the sea surface temperature anomaly or the departure from the long-term average exceeded 2 degrees Celsius. The most recent episode was the 2015-2016 event. And then there was the 1997-98 event and the 82-83 event.
And did Texas see higher precipitation during those extreme El Ninos?
We did see in 2015 and 16, if you recall, the Memorial Day flooding, but that is in the springtime. But then we did see rain starting from, I think, from about early spring of that year. And that was one of what we'd call the drought-busting rains, right? And that let us come out of the deficit that had accumulated in our reservoirs from the 2010 through 2014 drought event, which for some regions of our state is the worst drought of record. Exactly. 97 was another very wet year. I don't recall 82, 83 as being a very wet year in terms of like seeing the freshwater inflows to the coast and such. 97 was one of those really big years. Then 2002 was another very wet year, but again, it was not one of the extreme El Nino events. So we've seen talk about this year potentially being one of those big El Nino episodes, or it means that we might see the sea surface temperature anomaly go above 2 degrees. We're not sure, but there is a possibility that it might go beyond that threshold. So this year too, we've seen some talk that it might be one of those big events in terms of El Nino. And so we're not very sure whether it's going to the sea surface temperature anomaly in that region that we look at, which is called, by the way, the Niño 3.4 region. And if you want to know the specifics, it's like 5 degrees north to 5 degrees south and 120 degrees west to 170 degrees west. It's like this rectangle within which you look at the
maybe I'll take my non-existent sailboat and go find it and do some measurements.
But anyway.
So globally, this has been a warmer.
Warmer year, and even the ocean temperatures. We've seen reports of the Gulf of Mexico temperatures being much warmer than average. So in such a context, whether having an El Nino episode that goes beyond that 2 degree threshold is going to result in much heavier rainfall events or more rainfall events is a question. It's to be seen.
Right. Well, it sounds like the more significant El Nino conditions in the context of warmer global conditions is something that we haven't really experienced as much, so we don't have the same historical record or as many examples to look back on in this particular setting.
Yes, you said it perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.